Another rotation. Another batch of hopefuls convinced they have what it takes to survive the Nexus challenge. My name is Keth'var, and I have the absolute privilege of watching young beings from across the galaxy humiliate themselves in the most spectacular ways possible. As a mid-tier administrator for the Galactic Academy, I get front row seats to witness dreams crushed faster than a Vorthan's exoskeleton under pressure. The testing facility sprawls before us like a metallic beast, its corridors designed to break even the strongest minds. Holographic displays flicker with ominous warnings about the 97% failure rate. Most candidates never make it past the third trial. Those who do often require extensive psychological rehabilitation. Today's contestants represent the galaxy's finest, or so they claim. The Craxian delegation arrived 3 cycles early, their crystalline carapaces gleaming with embedded neural enhancers. Each one carries equipment worth more than my annual salary. Quantum processors hum softly in their biosuits, while micro-drones orbit their heads like technological halos. Behold the intellectual elite, I mutter to myself, watching them calibrate their atmospheric processors for the 100th time. The Centauri team clusters nearby, their 6 arms moving in perfect synchronization as they assemble modular combat suits. Their reputation for tactical brilliance precedes them, though their tendency to overthink simple problems has become something of a running joke among the faculty. Still, they bring enough firepower to level a small moon. Then there are the Thylorians, those smug gaseous beings who exist in specialized containment units. Their psionic abilities are legendary, and they never let anyone forget it. They float around making condescending comments about primitive solid-state consciousness, while their support staff tends to their environmental systems. The registration deadline approaches, and I start wondering if we might actually finish early today. That's when she shows up. A human girl stumbles through the entrance, looking like she just rolled out of bed. Her hair is tied back in what can only be described as a functional mess, and she's wearing simple clothes that would barely qualify as casual wear on most civilized worlds. No environmental suit, no neural enhancers, no quantum processors. Just a worn backpack that looks like it has seen better decades. "Excuse me," she says, approaching my desk with a smile that suggests she finds this whole situation amusing. "I'm here for the Nexus challenge. Maya Frost from Earth." I stare at her for a long moment, waiting for the punchline. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," she replies, completely missing the irony of her word choice. The other contestants have noticed her arrival, and their reactions range from confusion to outright laughter. A Craxian chit-talks something that roughly translates to "look at the primitive mammal." The Centauri team exchanges glances that clearly say this will be entertaining. Even the Thylorians pause their philosophical debates to focus their attention on the newcomer. "Where's your equipment?" asks Vorex, the lead Craxian. His voice carries that particular tone of superiority that his species has perfected over millennia. Maya shrugs, patting her backpack. "Got everything I need right here." This triggers another wave of amusement from the assembled candidates. I have to admit, even I'm struggling to maintain professional composure. Humans have quite the reputation in our databases. Their homeworld is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, which means it's barely habitable by galactic standards. Extreme weather, aggressive wildlife, and enough natural disasters to make a Vorthan weep. The official records describe humans as surprisingly resilient for carbon-based life forms and prone to irrational behavior under stress. What they don't mention is that most civilized species consider them slightly unhinged. Their planet is essentially a torture chamber, and they call it home. You do realize, I explain carefully, that the Nexus challenge has claimed more lives than the siege of Arcturus. "Good thing I'm not planning to die today," Maya says, still smiling. The casual way she dismisses mortal danger sends a chill through the room. Even the Thylorians seem unsettled by her nonchalant attitude toward potential annihilation. As I process her registration, I can't shake the feeling that this day is about to become significantly more interesting than my usual routine of watching overconfident aliens learn humility the hard way. The first phase of the Nexus Challenge always separates the genuinely intelligent from the merely well-equipped. The mental cognition trial presents candidates with a series of mathematical puzzles that would make a supercomputer weep. We're talking about 17-dimensional calculus, quantum probability matrices, and temporal logic paradoxes that have stumped entire civilizations. Contestants have exactly 1 standard hour to complete all equations, announces the synthetic voice that manages the trial protocols. A failure to achieve a 70% accuracy rate results in immediate disqualification and probable mental trauma. The Craxians immediately activate their neural enhancers, their crystalline carapaces glowing with processing power. Holographic displays materialize around them, showing complex mathematical models that hurt to look at directly. Their quantum processors hum with enough computational force to calculate the trajectory of every atom in a small solar system. The Centauri team works in perfect coordination, their 6 arms dancing across multiple input devices simultaneously. They've networked their individual processing units into a collective intelligence that can tackle problems from multiple angles at once. It's like watching a perfectly choreographed ballet, if ballet involved solving equations that could break the space-time continuum. The Thylaurians naturally claim they don't need technology because their transcendent consciousness operates on a higher mathematical plane. They float in their containment units, making dramatic gestures while their psionic abilities supposedly interface directly with the quantum mathematics underlying reality itself. And then there's Maya. She pulls out a pencil and a piece of paper, an actual pencil, made of wood and graphite, the kind of primitive writing implement that most species abandoned when they developed basic electronics. She stares at the first equation for about 30 seconds, then starts scribbling numbers like she's working out her grocery budget. Is she actually using manual calculation? Whispers Vorex, his voice carrying a mixture of horror and fascination. I lean forward in my observation chair, genuinely curious now. The human is working through problems that require massive computational power, and she's doing it with what amounts to a sharpened stick and processed tree pulp. Either she's completely insane, or there's something about human cognitive abilities that our databases seriously underestimated. 20 minutes into the trial, the first results start coming in. The Craxians have completed 60% of the equations with their usual precision. The Centauri team has managed 55% through their collective processing approach. The Thylaurians are at 40%, though they insist their answers exist on a higher conceptual level that the testing system can't properly evaluate. Maya is still scribbling away with her primitive pencil, occasionally erasing something and trying a different approach. She looks remarkably calm for someone who should be drowning in mathematical complexity that would challenge a galactic supercomputer. Then the results flash on my screen, and I nearly choke on my beverage. Maya Frost, 78% accuracy, 3rd place overall. That's impossible, states Thyken, the lead Thylaurian. His gaseous form ripples with indignation. No organic brain can process 17-dimensional mathematics without technological assistance. Apparently this one can, I muttered, double-checking the results. The system doesn't lie, and the human girl just outperformed half the galaxy's supposed intellectual elite with a pencil and paper. The second phase begins immediately, because the Nexus Challenge believes in keeping candidates off balance. The physical endurance trial transports everyone to a simulated environment that combines the worst aspects of several hostile worlds. We're talking about temperatures that swing from Arctic freeze to volcanic heat, atmospheric pressure that would crush most beings, and radiation levels that require serious protective equipment. The prepared contestants immediately activate their environmental suits. The Craxians seal themselves in powered armor that could probably survive a direct impact from a small meteor. The Centauri team coordinates their movements through their environmental systems, each member monitoring the other's vital signs. The Thylaurians retreat deeper into their specialized containment units, which now resemble mobile bunkers more than simple life support systems. Maya unzips her jacket. That's it. She doesn't activate any protective systems, doesn't don any specialized equipment. She just removes a layer of clothing like she's adjusting to a slightly warm day and starts walking across terrain that should be actively trying to kill her. The environmental readings on my screen show conditions that would hospitalize most species within minutes. The atmospheric composition alone should be toxic to carbon-based life forms. The temperature fluctuations should cause immediate hypothermia followed by heat stroke. The radiation exposure should be cooking her DNA like a microwave dinner. Instead, Maya strolls through the hellscape like she's taking a casual walk through a park. She even stops to examine some of the more interesting geological formations, completely ignoring the fact that they're glowing with enough radioactivity to power a small city. "How is she not dead?" asks Gentar, one of the younger Centauri observers. His voice carries the kind of panic that comes from watching someone casually violate everything you thought you knew about biology. The other contestants are struggling now. Their environmental suits are working overtime, consuming power at alarming rates. Several Craxians are already showing signs of system strain, their neural enhancers flickering as they divert processing power to life support. The Centauri team has slowed to a crawl, their coordination breaking down as individual members focus on their own survival. Maya finishes the course in record time, looking slightly bored. "Is there water available?" she asks as she approaches the finish line. "All that walking made me thirsty." I stare at the readings again, convinced there must be some kind of error. But the data doesn't lie. She just completed a physical trial designed to test the absolute limits of technological life support systems, and she's asking for refreshments. The panic in the contestants' eyes is becoming noticeable now. These are beings who represent the pinnacle of their respective civilizations, and they're being casually outperformed by someone who apparently considers a Class 12 Deathworld to be pleasant walking weather. The third phase is where most candidates break completely. The combat simulation trial pits contestants against advanced AI opponents programmed with the tactical knowledge of 1,000 military campaigns. These aren't your standard training dummies, these are virtual killing machines designed to exploit every weakness in conventional combat doctrine. The arena materializes around us, a shifting landscape of urban warfare combined with hostile terrain. The AI opponents appear as sleek, mechanical entities with adaptive weaponry and predictive combat algorithms. They've been programmed to counter every known military strategy in the Galactic database. Contestants will face escalating combat scenarios, the synthetic voice announces with what sounds suspiciously like sadistic glee. Victory conditions include survival, tactical superiority, and mission completion. Failure conditions include death, dismemberment, or psychological collapse. The Craxians deploy immediately, their combat suits transforming into walking weapons platforms. The plasma cannons extend from their shoulders while energy shields flicker to life around their positions. They move with the precision of a military unit, coordinating fire patterns and establishing overlapping fields of coverage. Their tactical displays show enemy positions, probable attack vectors, and optimal defensive positions. The Centauri team executes a textbook combined arms approach. Their six-armed physiology allows them to operate multiple weapon systems simultaneously while maintaining communication and coordination. They establish a fire base, deploy automated defense turrets, and begin systematic elimination of enemy positions. It's like watching a perfectly executed military exercise from an advanced warfare manual. The Thylorians take a different approach, using their psionic abilities to attempt direct neural interference with the AI opponents. Their containment units transform into heavily armored command centers, while they project mental attacks designed to disrupt enemy programming. Theoretical warfare at its finest. Maya picks up a rock. Not a sophisticated piece of improvised weaponry. Not a strategically positioned debris that could be used as cover. Just a rock. A plain, ordinary rock that happened to be lying on the ground near her feet. "What is she doing?" mutters Thyken, his gaseous form rippling with confusion. I'm wondering the same thing as Maya examines the rock like it holds the secrets of the universe. The AI opponents have begun their attack patterns, and sophisticated military technology is unleashing fury across the arena. Meanwhile, the human is apparently fascinated by igneous geology. Then she throws the rock, not at an enemy, not at a strategic target. She throws it at a wall, where it ricochets off at an angle that sends it bouncing through a series of structural supports. The supports collapse, bringing down a section of the arena that crushes 3 AI opponents and creates a choke point that forces the remaining enemies into a kill zone. "That was accidental, right?" asks Gentar, his voice carrying the desperate hope of someone clinging to a rational worldview. Maya's second rock brings down a communications tower, cutting off the AI's coordination network. Her third rock triggers a chain reaction that floods part of the arena, short-circuiting several enemy units. She's not fighting the AI opponents, she's turning their own environment against them. The Craxians, despite their superior firepower, are struggling against enemies designed to counter their tactics. The Centauri team's coordination is being disrupted by adaptive AI countermeasures. The Thylorians' psionic attacks are being filtered out by advanced neural shielding. Maya finishes the simulation by using environmental hazards to eliminate the remaining AI opponents without firing a single shot. She doesn't just win, she achieves a tactical victory that breaks the previous record by 17 minutes. How? Borex's voice carries the kind of existential bewilderment that comes from watching everything you believe about warfare get casually dismissed. The AI was programmed to counter known military tactics, Maya explains with a shrug. So I didn't use any. The fourth phase arrives before anyone has time to process what just happened. The leadership trial presents candidates with a series of impossible moral dilemmas designed to test decision-making under pressure. These aren't simple ethical questions, these are scenarios that have no correct answers, situations where every choice leads to catastrophic consequences. The first scenario involves a colony ship with failing life support. Save the adults and let the children die, or save the children and condemn the adults. The Craxians apply logical analysis, calculating maximum survival probability based on resource allocation. The Centauri team attempts to find technological solutions that might save everyone. The Thylorians retreat into philosophical abstractions about the nature of sacrifice and the greater good. Maya's solution is to modify the life support system to extend its operational time, evacuate non-essential personnel to reduce resource consumption, and implement rationing protocols that maximize survival chances for the entire population. That's not one of the approved options, states the testing system. Then your options weren't good enough, Maya replies. The second scenario involves a war between 2 allied species where supporting either side would result in galactic conflict. The advanced contestants struggle with political calculations and diplomatic protocols. Maya's solution is to mediate a peace treaty by identifying the underlying resource dispute and proposing a mutually beneficial trade agreement. That scenario was designed to be unsolvable, I whisper to myself, staring at the results. The third scenario presents a choice between saving a planet's ecosystem or preserving its sentient population. Maya's solution involves relocating the population to preserve the ecosystem while establishing orbital habitats that maintain their cultural continuity. By the time the fourth scenario begins, the other contestants have stopped trying to compete and started taking notes. Maya isn't just solving impossible problems, she's revealing that the problems were only impossible because everyone else was thinking inside predetermined parameters. The horrible realization hits me like a cargo hauler at full thrust. Humans aren't just tough because they come from a dangerous world. They're adaptable because they've learned to survive in a universe that's constantly trying to kill them in new and creative ways. They don't just endure impossible situations, they find ways to make the impossible work for them. We've been looking at this all wrong. The other species developed advanced technology to overcome their limitations. Humans developed advanced problem-solving because their limitations kept trying to murder them. Their entire species is essentially a collection of survivors who learned to thrive in conditions that would break anyone else. And we invited one of them to take our most challenging test. The final phase of the Nexus Challenge is called the Crucible, and there's a reason why most Academy instructors refuse to discuss it in polite company. It's a survival scenario specifically designed to break candidates who have somehow managed to survive everything else. The environmental conditions are lethal, the resource scarcity is absolute, and the psychological pressure is engineered to induce complete mental collapse. Previous candidates have emerged from the Crucible as gibbering wrecks, assuming they emerged at all. The Academy's medical wing maintains a special ward for Crucible survivors, complete with padded walls and very understanding therapists. The current record holder, a Valorian war veteran named Krex Tool, lasted 47 hours before his rescue beacon activated, and he begged to be extracted while sobbing about invisible predators. The final trial begins now, announces the synthetic voice, sounding positively cheerful about the impending psychological carnage. Candidates will be transported to a hostile environment with minimal resources. Survival time determines final rankings. There is no time limit, no rescue protocol, and no guarantee of extraction. The arena transforms into something that makes the previous trials look like luxury resorts. We're talking about a landscape that combines the worst features of every hostile environment in the known galaxy. Acid rain, predatory fauna, unstable terrain, toxic atmosphere, and weather patterns that seem personally offended by the concept of life itself. The remaining contestants, those who haven't already collapsed from the previous trials, are transported into this nightmare with nothing but basic survival gear. The Craxians immediately begin constructing fortified positions using their remaining technology. The Centauri team establishes a defensive perimeter while cataloging threats and resources. The Thylorians retreat into meditation, presumably attempting to transcend their physical forms before the environment can kill them. Maya looks around, nods appreciatively, and comments, "Reminds me of camping with my family in Colorado." I start updating my personal will. The first day passes, and the monitoring systems show the expected pattern of gradual degradation. The Craxians are burning through their power reserves, maintaining their defensive systems. The Centauri team is struggling with resource allocation and growing interpersonal tensions. The Thylorians are discovering that philosophical transcendence doesn't protect against actual acid rain. Maya, meanwhile, has built a shelter, established a water purification system, and started what appears to be a small garden. She's not just surviving, she's setting up a sustainable living situation like she's planning to retire here. How is she growing plants in toxic soil? I mutter, reviewing the sensor data for the 5th time. By the 2nd day, other candidates are beginning to fail. Gentar activates his emergency beacon after a pack of native predators corners his team. 2 Craxians are extracted after their power systems fail and they start showing signs of environmental poisoning. The lead Thylorian abandons his philosophical approach and begins begging the monitoring system for immediate evacuation. Maya spends the 2nd day helping other contestants. She shares her purified water, offers shelter to those whose defensive systems have failed, and provides medical assistance to candidates suffering from environmental exposure. She's not just thriving in conditions designed to break the strongest minds, she's turned into a one-person rescue operation. This is unprecedented, I report to my supervisors, who are watching the feeds with expressions of barely controlled panic. She's not just surviving the Crucible, she's making it livable for others. By the 3rd day, Maya has essentially transformed a section of the hostile environment into a functioning base camp. She's providing resources and shelter to any candidate who needs assistance, while continuing to maintain her own operations with casual efficiency. The monitoring sensors show her stress levels are actually lower than they were during the registration process. On the morning of the 4th day, she breaks Krex Tool's 47-hour record. She doesn't celebrate, doesn't acknowledge the achievement, just continues her morning routine of checking on other candidates and maintaining her improvised settlement. When she reaches the 72-hour mark, officially crushing the Academy's 500-year-old survival record, the testing system automatically declares the trial complete. Maya's response to this historic achievement is to ask, "Does anyone know if there's a cafeteria around here? I'm getting tired of the emergency rations." I sit in stunned silence, reviewing the data streams that chronicle the most comprehensive demolition of established testing protocols in Academy history. A human girl, armed with nothing but a backpack and an apparently unshakable calm, has just redefined what we thought was possible in terms of survival, adaptation, ace, and leadership under pressure. My hands shake slightly as I begin composing my official report. How do you explain to galactic leadership that everything they think they know about species capabilities might be fundamentally wrong? How do you recommend that immediate diplomatic relations be established with a species that can casually outperform your best technology using improvised solutions and what appears to be genetically ingrained adaptability? I settle on the truth, however terrifying it might be. Recommend immediate priority-level diplomatic contact with human civilization. Previous threat assessments require complete revision, suggest treating Earth as a strategic partner rather than a backwater Deathworld. Also recommend upgrading cafeteria options in case more humans visit. As I finish transmitting my report to Academy Command, Maya approaches my administrative station with the same casual demeanor she's maintained throughout this entire reality-shattering experience. She's carrying her backpack and looks like someone who just finished a mildly interesting afternoon activity rather than someone who has fundamentally altered our understanding of biological limitations. Thanks for running a smooth operation, she says, extending her hand in what I recognize as a human greeting gesture. That was actually pretty fun. Good workout, you know. Fun? I repeat, my voice barely functional. You found the Nexus Challenge fun? Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't as challenging as my sister's basic training, but it kept me busy. She pauses, seeming to consider something. Though I should mention, I'm probably not the best example of human capabilities. I'm pretty average by our standards. The stylus I'm holding snaps in half. Average, I manage to croak. Sure. I mean, my sister Riley is the one with real talent. She's in the military, specializes in hostile environment operations. She would have probably finished this whole thing in half the time. Maya shrugs, apparently oblivious to the fact that she's just implied the existence of humans who could make her record-breaking performance look mediocre. Your sister, I say slowly, would have done better. Oh, definitely. And don't get me started on our athletes, or the people who work in extreme weather research, or the folks who do underwater welding, or mountain rescue teams, or she trails off. Noticing my expression. Are you okay? You look a little pale. Well, paler than usual. I stare at her, processing the implications of what she's saying. If Maya represents average human capability, and she just casually dismantled every challenge we could devise, then what exactly are we dealing with when it comes to their specialists? Their military personnel? Their emergency responders? I need to update my report, I whisper. Cool. Hey, before I go, is there anywhere I can grab a sandwich? The emergency rations weren't bad, but I could really go for some actual food. As Maya wanders off in search of sustenance, I sit in my chair contemplating the complete collapse of everything I thought I understood about galactic power structures. We've been operating under the assumption that technological advancement equals superior capability. Meanwhile, there's an entire species out there that has achieved superior capability through the simple expedient of refusing to die when their environment tries to kill them. I open a new report file and stare at the blank screen. How do you explain to your superiors that you've discovered a species where the average individual can outperform your best candidates using nothing but improvised solutions and an attitude that treats lethal challenges as mild inconveniences? How do you recommend policy changes when those policies are based on the fundamental assumption that other species need advanced technology to survive in hostile conditions, while these humans apparently consider hostile conditions to be Tuesday? I start typing supplemental report. Previous assessment of human capabilities may have been slightly understated. Recommend complete revision of threat evaluation protocols. Also recommend immediate procurement of stronger furniture for administrative stations, as current equipment may not withstand future existential crises. I pause, delete that last part, and settle for Academy testing protocols require comprehensive review. Current challenges may be insufficient for proper evaluation of Deathworld species. Suggest developing new difficulty standards, assuming we can figure out what might actually challenge these people. Somewhere in the distance, I hear Maya asking a maintenance technician about the location of the nearest pizza restaurant. I add one final note to my report: recommend establishing food services capable of satisfying Deathworld dietary preferences. Current cafeteria may be inadequate. The galaxy just got a lot more interesting, and I'm not entirely sure that's a good thing.